Well, that's quite unusual. By Heptacular. I live in Houston, Texas. For the uninformed, it's quite hot and vehemently muggy in the summer. This year is no exception. The current day's high was 98, while the low was a paltry 89, which only happened at sundown. To give a little background information, I'm 16, male, and a pitcher for my high school baseball team. Due to some vandalism issues the school has been having recently, people weren't allowed on campus during the summer, which kinda sucked for my practice. Instead, I'd been going to my local park to throw, and that had worked out quite nicely. I didn't have my phone on me at the time, just my glove, a baseball, and a rather small pocket knife that I pretty much always have on me, just in case. Now, when I get to the park on that particular day, it was around 90 degrees, and the sun was just on the horizon. I didn't have long to throw before it was pitch dark, so I got to it right away. About 10 minutes in, an unmarked black sedan pulled into the parking lot. The parking lot was about 15 feet from where I was throwing, but I didn't notice the car. People park there all the time, so why would this person be any different? Well, little did I know, the next 20 minutes would be quite the experience. As I was practicing, a man in a black hoodie and black pants stepped out of the car. This was odd. It was 90 degrees outside, so why would any sane person be wearing long, black clothes? I shrugged it off and watched as the man walked towards some trees next to the parking lot. You could probably guess how surprised I was when I saw him stop on the edge of the tree line and stand there, turning towards me. This is where the freaky stuff began. The man had a mask on, but not a normal mask. It was pure white, with 2 large eye holes, dark from the low light level. A little shaken, I just kept throwing this baseball at a wall. The man was maybe 20 feet away from me, staring directly at me. From the distance, he looked a solid 6 foot, 200 pounds, and had an imposing stature about him. At this point, I was quite terrified, but kept throwing. I wanted to wait until he left in case he decided to follow me, so I decided to just sit and keep throwing. The man quirked his head to the side slightly, before taking out a Sharpie and drawing a large, sloppy smile on his mask. He walked slightly closer, still covered by the trees. I flipped and darted, leaving the baseball and sprinting home. After a few seconds of pure sprinting, I turned around to see the man still standing there, not moving, but still staring at me. I kept running until I made it home. I was alone at home, but at least I wasn't with him. Unfortunately, it was a clown. By Farmer Leftfoot. I was a junior in high school. It was 1992. Soccer season had just started, and I needed to get my ass back in shape. I told my mom that I was going to go for a run along the road behind our subdivision that ran through what we called the Barrens, shamelessly ripping off Stephen King's It. I had run maybe half a mile when a set of railroad tracks crossed over the road. Now, I can't remember why I thought this would be a good idea. Maybe I thought I was working on dexterity, but I decided to run on the tracks rather than down the road. Shoot, I was 16. Who knows why any 16-year-old does anything? I was about 50 yards down the track, away from the road, when a pickup truck drove and stopped right at the intersection. The person in the car honked at me, and I could see motion in the driver's seat, like someone waving at me. I was confused and didn't immediately recognize the car as belonging to friends or family. I thought maybe my friend Mike was borrowing his dad's truck, which I seem to vaguely remember looking similar. I figured he'd stopped at my house to hang out. My mom told him I was out for a run and he thought he'd catch up with me in his car. With that thought in mind, I turned and started walking toward the truck. I was probably 30 feet away from the truck when I realized that the person driving and waving at me was not my friend Mike, but rather someone dressed as a clown. His face is painted white. He had a clown makeup on and a clown suit. Not a scary clown or anything. Well, I mean, it was scary as F, but not like the clown had made himself a blood-smeared clown with, pointed teeth or anything. He just looked like a typical clown. Parked in the middle of the intersection and waving at me. Now, over 20 years later, I can't remember if the dude beckoned to me or just waved, but either way, it was enough. I turned around and ran as fast as I could down the railroad track, booking it for the next road intersection, which was in a more populated area. I turned around one time and saw the guy had gotten out of his truck and was standing by the passenger side, the side closest to me, and I ran faster than I've ever run. When I made it home, I asked my mom if any of my friends had stopped by and known I was out running. She said no. And when I told her about what happened, she was angry at the creep and scared for me. I didn't want to call the police because the whole thing just seemed too ridiculous. But I'll tell you what, I never went running down that section of road or railroad tracks again. Scariest day of my life. By every day, I'm muggling. So this is the first thing I have ever posted here. So forgive me if I make mistakes. A little backstory. I work at a hospital downtown close to where I live. The location of the hospital is right on the edge of downtown and is in the ghetto, if you will. There is a gas station a couple blocks before the hospital on my way to work. I work the night shift. I regularly stop there on my way in to smoke because we can't smoke on the property. It's a pretty sketchy gas station. Always has homeless, drunks, and drug addicts hanging around outside looking for people to ask for money. I never leave my car. I keep the doors locked and a weapon in reach. I've been asked many times for money, or to buy food, or gas for people. I usually give what little cash I have, so they'll go away and leave me alone. This day, however, was different. About a month ago, I stopped for my regular smoke and saw this man, obviously under the influence of something, walking back and forth. He was making me nervous because he was walking in front of my car. I always try to be aware of my surroundings without being obvious, and I looked up from my phone, trying to move my head as little as possible. He was staring right into my eyes as soon as I looked. I immediately looked back at my phone and pretended not to notice. A couple minutes later, I looked back up. He was now walking in the parking spot beside me. This particular day, I parked in the second to last spot on the side of the store. He was staring at me still, while pacing. My heart was racing. This time, he talked to me. He said, "Damn, you have beautiful eyes. I wish I had those eyes." I nervously thanked him and looked back at my phone. He walked closer to my car. He spoke again. "You're so fucking beautiful, so young, and those eyes. I swear I'd treat you like a queen." I laughed a little, not knowing what to do. He then said, "I wish I had kids with you. My baby mama ain't got nothing like you. I bet you make a lot of money too." He noticed my scrubs, because by this time, he was leaning on my side mirror. I said, Thanks, I guess. I really have to go to work now." He asked for a cigarette, and I gave him the rest of the pack I had, and told him to have a good day. He leaned against my window and asked me if he could kiss my cheek to thank me. I grabbed my knife and held it so hard, the imprint was left in my hand. I said, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." I started to roll my window up the rest of the way, and he grabbed it with both hands. I stopped, not wanting to make him mad. I was visibly scared at this point. I kept thinking he could grab me, and no one would see. I asked him to let go, because I was going to be late for work. He told me it didn't matter, because he would take care of me, and I wouldn't have to work. He said he just wanted me to have his kids, and everything would be okay. About that time, a car pulled up beside me. It was a younger guy that looked to be my age. He sat and watched us for a minute. I must have noticed something was wrong. He got out and knocked on the passenger side window of my car. I looked at him quickly, and his face told me he was trying to help. I looked back at the other guy while still holding my window, and I rolled the other one down. The young guy started talking to me like he knew me, asking if I made a new friend, and subtly asking what was going on. Creepy guy told him to go away because we were busy. The young guy said he was meeting me there because we worked together, and asked if he could help him with something. The creep said no, and again told him to go away before he made him go away. The guy said to put my car in reverse and just pull out. The creep let go of my window and said he'd see me when I left work. The young guy followed me to work. I had security take me to my car the following morning. I have never been so scared in my life.